Hey guys, Henry here, and today I'm going to be talking about the film Joker. So Joker was directed by Todd Phillips, who previously directed films like The Hangover and War Dogs. So it is pretty interesting and awesome to see him take on a drastically different project and execute it so successfully. Put plainly, Joker is most definitely worth a watch. So I advise you go to the cinemas right now and watch it on the big screen. It will not disappoint. I want to talk a bit more about the film and its details, and will probably venture into spoiler territory. So if you haven't seen Joker, you have been warned, I will be talking about spoilers. The first thing that must be said about this film is that Joaquin Phoenix delivered such a great performance. The most obvious thing of note was how much weight he lost. He looks so thin and sickly, and that commitment and sacrifice in itself needs to be commended. But more importantly, the way he played the character, the way he moved, it was weak and it felt like he couldn't move smoothly. Even as he transformed into the Joker, he never really felt completely in control of his actions. There was always a bit of tension or crookedness in the way he moved, but he definitely became more comfortable with that tension and the movement of his body, and it was illustrated with his dancing the more he embraced himself. Joaquin Phoenix put on a masterclass for walking. Now, I know it sounds a bit dumb, but walking is absolutely huge. How you walk tells the audience so much about your character without saying a single word. It tells us about their mood, whether they're happy, sad, angry, upset, and it tells us about their mindset. Are they in a rush? Are they anxious to get somewhere? Or maybe they're calm and relaxed. We see how he walks at all the different stages of his descent into becoming the Joker. At the beginning, with him slowly becoming more depressed and more suicidal as his life falls apart, and then him building his confidence back up as he begins to transform into the Joker. As he commits more terrible acts, he sort of comes into his own. His laugh as well was absolutely haunting, and the fact that it was a condition that Arthur had, something that he couldn't control. He would laugh uncontrollably to the point that his throat would hurt. That was an amazing addition to his character, and it really added another layer to him. Laughing and being mocked for it, and him learning to shed the shame of laughing and just learning to embrace it as who he really is. There is no real overall plot to this film. It's not the typical main character has to overcome a bunch of challenges, and maybe along the way they get knocked down a couple of times, but then they get back up and they break through and end up on top. No, this movie is not that. It's more of a character study. It's a deep dive into who Arthur Fleck is and why and how he becomes the Joker. It is quite literally a sequence of unfortunate events that just culminate in Arthur's undoing. Arthur just craves to be a part of society. He just wants so badly to be liked, and he feels like he can't even do the bare minimum and just fit in. Comparing this version of Joker to Heath Ledger's, it's completely different. Heath Ledger's Joker was more cunning and felt more inherently evil. His intentions were to just see the world burn, to expose people for being frauds. He believed that everyone was selfish, and he wanted to show that we were all just crappy human beings. And he went about it in an extremely calculated and methodical way. Whereas on the other hand, Joaquin Phoenix's Joker felt more raw. He didn't have any grand ideas of changing the world or exposing society. He just wanted to be seen, to be recognized and appreciated. And by not being able to achieve those things, but by continuously getting shafted, he was just out to get revenge. The people that he hurt, the people that he killed, they had done things to him. The three Wall Street dudes were trying to beat him up. His mom abused him or allowed him to be abused when he was a child. And that head trauma was actually what resulted in his laughing condition. Randall, his supposed clown friend, got him fired from the clown agency. And Murray Franklin was just a douche and mocked him on his show, and then continued to mock him when he was actually on the show as a guest. I felt that his character was more unhinged, and his transformation into the Joker was a result of him leaning into this desire to get revenge on the people who had wronged him, but also embracing who he felt like he was, and his lack of remorse for his actions. So when the situations were put in front of him, I don't think he necessarily had any schemes or solid plans. He just decided on what he was going to do then and there, and he decided to do the extreme thing. And what this movie does really well and makes you feel wrong is that you sympathize with him. You see what he's gone through, you know his backstory, you know what has driven him to this point where he goes on to make these decisions to kill those people. And it makes you feel gross, it makes you feel icky, because you get why he did it. But at the very same time, you know that what he's doing is wrong, but you have a part of you that is rooting for him. Yeah, it's very conflicting. And additionally, this movie does a really good job of putting you in spots where you don't quite know where it's going to go, and where you think you know where it's going to go, you don't quite know when things are going to happen. A good example of this is the scene with the dwarf right after Arthur kills Randall. This scene built up so much tension. He's just freaking out in the corner, and you're just freaking out in your seat thinking, holy crap, surely he's going to kill him too. And, he can't have any witnesses, but at the same time, he's not really a rational dude. And is he really going to be worrying about witnesses? Then Arthur tells him that he can leave, and then he lunges at him as a joke. Then the real joke comes. The door is chain closed and he cannot reach it, and he has to ask Arthur to open the door. I was just sitting there thinking, damn, did Arthur really plan to just mess with this guy to this extent and then kill him anyways? There were so many things racing through my mind during that scene, and the tension was insane. This movie did this throughout and just built up that tension and created a really unsettling vibe. Another good example is the conversation Arthur has with Murray while on the show. They keep this back and forth going, and they keep getting more heated, and you don't know when he's gonna shoot himself or when he's gonna shoot Murray. And then bang, he does it, and it's the most guttural shot I've ever heard. And then Murray's just sitting there with a bullet in his head. And then on top of that, there's a brilliant moment right after. Joker walks off, but then he walks back onto the platform, just savoring the attention a little bit longer. And now skipping to the end, the ending scene with Joker on top of the car, everyone around him cheering, and he smears the blood across his face, just completely embracing this part of himself. That was another great moment. And it's literally people cheering for a guy that, one, admitted to killing those 3 Wall Street dudes, which, yeah, that makes sense because that was the event that inspired them to all riot in the first place. But then he also just murdered a talk show host live on TV. Like, I hope people wouldn't be cheering for a person as terrible as Joker at this point, but it does make you think, is that really possible? And then I was questioning whether or not it was even real or it was just all in his mind, because the next scene is of him in handcuffs being interviewed in Arkham. Honestly, this movie is just filled with great moments like this, and it keeps the audience on its toes. It did a brilliant job engaging you as a viewer and building the mythos of Joker. What I will say is I didn't quite like the DC tie-in towards the end, having the death of Thomas and Martha Wayne being a result of Thomas Wayne inciting this clown rebellion, which was created by the Joker. I mean, it's pretty cool, but it doesn't add to this immediate story. It's sort of planting the seeds for, the future Batman, I guess. And if anything, it makes it more confusing because they've said that this movie is meant to be a self-contained story, a one-off. So I don't know why they felt the need to put those bits in. But on the contrary, the use of Thomas Wayne was really well done in respects to Arthur and his mother's relationship to him. It was a really nice wrinkle and a twist. For a second, you're thinking, holy crap, the Joker is Batman's half-brother. But the fact that his mum was just delusional and obsessive makes a lot of sense and adds more to Arthur's story. I know there definitely is potential for her to be speaking the truth because of that picture that Arthur has of her with a really intimate message signed by Thomas Wayne as well. And that just adds to the intrigue of the story because you don't know what's real and what's not. But all of this DC stuff, it does raise the question, did this movie have to be a Joker movie? Could it have existed on its own? I would lean towards, yes, it did have to be a Joker movie because while it would be interesting to see this movie without the DC frills all over it, Joker already has an established place in the minds of a lot of people. It's a really well-known and beloved villain, and I think that by having Arthur Fleck be Joker, it was able to be overall more impactful in terms of story as well as reaching a wider audience. There's been a bunch of backlash online about the movie inciting violence, yada yada, but I don't think that this movie is saying, oh, if your life is going downhill, here is the answer, go kill a bunch of people that have wronged you. If anything, this movie is trying to tell us to actually give a crap about other people, not to just bash and hate on people because they're a little odd or a bit different, and just give them a chance. It brings up things like mental health and talks about the class divide. There are so many other conversations that this movie could have sparked, but unfortunately, it's the old, does shooting in movies / video games promote violence? Although, to be fair, the issues of mental health or classism, they weren't really tackled in much detail and were more just a general theme that overarched the film. Regardless, I would reiterate that this movie is definitely worth a watch. It's definitely not a typical comic book movie. It isn't just a dark superhero movie. It's a gritty and intense movie-going experience. There are definitely uncomfortable moments, but that's the point. It's a film that is impressively executed, brilliantly acted, beautiful to watch, and it keeps you thinking long after you've left the movie theater. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked it, be sure to hit that like button. And if you want to see more content from me, be sure to subscribe. Let me know your thoughts on Joker in the comment section down below. Thank you guys again, and I'll catch you guys next time.